All right. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for attending or watching this presentation. I just wanted to give everyone a little information as they plan ahead on this summer and looking forward to next school year. This year has definitely brought its challenges, as we know, in many ways. So we're all looking forward to getting back to semi-normal. And hopefully one of those is joining our band program. So next year, we'll be starting fifth graders and sixth graders in beginning band. We did not start the current fifth graders this past year, so we're going to be starting them in sixth grade also. So most of the information I'm going to go over tonight will apply to both fifth and sixth grade. So there really is no difference between them. So just a quick overview. I'm going to go over the entire band program and what it's all about, who's eligible to be in band, how you join band, and maybe some of the biggest questions tonight is what instrument are we going to play? How do I get those instruments? The first couple months of just being in band, what it's like, and performances, and the last I call hot cross buns and beyond. We'll talk about that as we get there. So just a little bit about myself. Good evening, I'm Mr. Dye. I'm the band director. I teach fifth grade all the way through 12th grade, everything instrumental, from beginning band here at the middle school to the high school jazz band, marching band, and so on. And I'm going into my fifth year being band director and really looking forward to having your student in our program. So at the middle school, we begin band usually in fifth grade, but this year will be fifth and sixth grade both, and they won't be combined. They'll be separate classes, so you won't have, the fifth and sixth grade won't be together. The beginning band is so large that they'll have to be separated. And then as your student progresses through the program, they can continue joining band each year. Usually we used to have seventh and eighth grade bands together as well as seventh and eighth grade choir. This year we had split them and it's worked out pretty well, and that's the plan for the future. But then once they get into high school, so we're looking at maybe 4 or 5 years down the road, or 3 years, I guess, for my sixth graders, they have opportunities to continue playing their instrument, but maybe learning new instruments and joining the marching band or the jazz band, or even the concert band. So lots of opportunities there to continue in the band program as they get older. So who can join band? Well, everyone can. Not a single person can't be part of the program. There is no auditions. You don't have to be able to read how to read music before you join. You don't have to already have some knowledge of an instrument. Anyone and everyone can be a part of band. Okay, so that's exciting. All students, no matter the commitment, can join band. So, let's say your student's really busy doing, sports and 4-H and Boy Scouts and all kinds of different activities. I don't make students, pick. We just got to all work together. So your student can, be in band as well as do all the other things that they love to do just as much. Now, there's not much outside of the school time in beginning band besides homework. And of course, that is practicing. So as we go through the years, there'll be more rehearsals or stuff like that in the high school band. But in beginning band, we just have a couple of concerts a year. And that's really it. So just practicing at home is your outside commitment. So it's during the day. And so what a great opportunity for the students to start. So let's say you're here. How do you join this? How do you start? Well, the first thing that I would like you to do is you go to the band website. You just type in pvlakerbands.com, and there's this informal sign up here. And I say informal because you just doing this does not automatically put you in band. This is just something that helps me say, hey, this student and this family here really wants to be a part of my program, so I'll make sure that we can get them on the list, or I'll have you on my radar. So here is the PV Laker Band's website that I'll refer to quite often throughout my presentation. And you want to simply click here, be part of the band, versus click here. Now, students, you're actually going to have to be, see, it wants to make sure that wants to make sure that I have my school email on. So students, you'll have to use your school email to fill this out. So parents, you won't be able to fill out forms. Students will have to use their school email. And so very simply, just put your first, last name, what grade you're going into, an instrument you want to play. If you couldn't play that instrument, what other instrument you might want to play. And if you have an instrument at home, you need to get an instrument, and any questions you might have. So very short, very simple, take you all of 2 minutes or so to complete. But this just gives me a great, just a great entry onto who wants to be part of the program. So that's the first thing I would like you to do, is just fill that out on the PV Laker Band website, how to join the band. Okay. Now, officially, the first week of school, we're going to have a meeting with all the students, and there where you're going to officially sign up with Mrs. Jernigan. She is our middle school guidance counselor. So band will actually go on your schedule. Just it'll say, you know, reading and math, science, and band, and you'll actually get a grade for it in credit. So band will be on your schedule. So band is in the morning because Mr. Dye goes into the high school in the afternoon. So it's usually first or second period, and I'm not sure which one is which with 5th and 6th grade this year. But students will get 3 days of instruction in band. So I will see them a total of 3 days. So one of those days they're going to get a group lesson. So all of the flutes are going to get together. All the clarinets are going to get together, percussion, etc. And I'm going to teach those students individually on those instruments, okay? The other 2 days is combined band instruction. So all the clarinets, all the flutes, and all the trumpets are all going to be together at the same time, the entire band. When I first started teaching here, we just did the group lessons, and they were quite effective, but students were not getting the entire they weren't putting the whole puzzle together. They were just getting a little tiny piece of it. And not until we started putting, the trumpets next to the trombones and them to hear those sounds. And that's really when the students got excited about band and wanted them to stay with it. So that's how you join band. You want to sign up officially with Mrs. Jernigan, sign up on the band website to give me an idea. And that's a little bit about our schedule there. Just going to check here real quick to make sure no one else is trying to jump into our meeting. No one yet. All right. So now comes the exciting, lengthy part. So you might already know, students, what instrument that you want to play. Okay. You might not be sure yet. So there are 7 instruments that we want you to start on in beginning band. Now, there is many other instruments that you can play, but these are the basic ones that we want to start off on, okay? We don't want to start kids, for example, on all of these saxophones, the tenor and the bari and the alto, okay? We don't want to start students on the oboe and the bassoon, so we just pick one basic one, at least for your first year, and then after that, we reevaluate and we can then teach you other instruments. So, but if you learn the basics on one instrument, you'll find that it's easy to apply those basics to another instrument. So in the woodwind family, of course, we have the flute, okay? The flute would be a great instrument if carrying a big trombone case is not your thing and you just want something small. The flute folds down into very small case, okay? Almost like the size of a pencil case. But the flute is a beautiful instrument, and I need lots of flute players. If you put one flute against one trumpet, you're never going to hear the poor flute player, okay? And so we need many flutes to be in band. The flute is a beautiful instrument, requires a lot of air, okay, to play, but this is the flute that students have the option of playing. The clarinet. The clarinet has a lot of pieces, but it's one of the most common instruments that students begin on. And again, just like the flute, we need lots of clarinet players in band. Now, the clarinet does require a reed to play. This little piece of wood here is called a reed that we're going to talk to when we get into the supplies part, but that's going to be an additional expense, these reeds, not only on the clarinet, but also here on the saxophone. But clarinet does have a lot of keys, a lot of pieces that you got to take good care of, students. And that's with any of these instruments, you got to take really good care of them. So here's the clarinet. a woodwind family. And then lastly in the woodwinds is the alto saxophone. Now, most students, well, I should say all students do start on the alto. There's been some exceptions that I have made with maybe a student had a tenor saxophone and they want to start right on that. But that's a conversation we need to have. But I highly recommend all students start on the alto for their first year, okay? I will say the alto is the most expensive instrument if you're looking to buy these new. And again, we're going to get there in the next slide. But it also requires a reed to play here, as you can see, which will be an additional expense. But the alto saxophone can be a really beautiful instrument. It can be very exciting to play. In the brass family, we have, of course, everyone knows the trumpet, all right? Trumpet, I always tell the kids the easiest put together. Here's a trumpet, here's a mouthpiece, it's good to go, okay? But requires a lot of work here with our embouchure, which students we're gonna find is a fancy way to form our mouth to play our instrument. So we have the trumpet here, has 3 valves. You can play very loud and very high also. Other brass instruments we have. The trombone. The trombone is a lot of fun, really exciting, but it is also quite a large instrument. So think about, carrying this big trombone around, but it is really exciting to play. It has a slide that uses to change the notes in addition to what you're doing with your air, okay? And also has a mouthpiece like the trumpets, but a lot bigger. So that is the trombone. Now, the other instrument that I have started students off on is the baritone or the euphonium, very similar instruments. So the baritone is I know the camera might look like a tuba, this is just a baritone. But this might be an instrument for a student who wants to play a low instrument, but maybe their arms aren't long enough to play the trombone. So they might start on the baritone or the euphonium, or maybe in hopes one day they want to play the tuba. But it's a great instrument. I don't have very many of these in our selection for students to use. So if you want to use one of these or play a baritone, let me know so that we can secure that instrument for you. Now, again, it plays very similar to the trombone. It sounds similar to the trombone, but it has these valves on it, okay? But it's a great instrument that students start off on. And the last instrument grouping is the percussion section. We call these percussionists, not drummers, because there's a lot more to the percussion section than maybe just playing the bass drum or the snare drum and all that. So the percussion section, all students will start off here on the bells, okay? So all students start off on the bells from the beginning of band up until our first performance at Christmas time. At that point, after our Christmas concert, we then transition students start to learn the practice pad, the snare drum, and learn all those other percussion instruments. But I require all students to start off on the bells because they need to understand the notes and how they can play with the band in that way. So they start with the bells and the mallets, just like this. And then later on, they learn, snare drum, bass drum, and then that transforms into drum set and all those exciting instruments. If a student plays piano or has piano skills, percussion might be a very wise selection for them. So there's a brief overview of those instruments, and maybe you're still not sure what to play. If you have any questions, you're like, I sort of want to do the clarinet, but I sort of want to do the alto saxophone. It might just come down to what instrument that you can get, right? So I'll never say, no, you can't play the flute, or no, you can't play percussion, but just keep in mind that, I don't need an entire band full of percussionists, or I don't need an entire band full of alto saxophone, right? We want to have a nice variety on all instruments. That's what makes the band. So this is a big deal. How do we get that instrument? So there are 3 options that I'm going to go through to get the instrument. So one is you can get the instrument on your own. So you want to play the clarinet. Maybe your brother or sister or someone already has a clarinet that you can play. Maybe Aunt Betty's clarinet's in your closet. It's a little dusty and you want to play it. It's probably still good. So you want to check that out. You can talk to me if you think it needs repaired or it needs serviced, and we can get that taken care of for you. Sorry, I'm just checking again. Oh, advance there. So you can, excuse me, I lost my train of thought. So you can start on an instrument you might already have. Now, you might want to go out and purchase your own instrument. So I told the students when I met with them a couple of weeks ago that we all love to online shop. You do, I do, everyone does. And we usually go to Amazon, okay? Now, if you go to Amazon and you type in clarinet, you're going to get what looks like a clarinet, okay? It's going to be black. It's going to have the silver keys. I mean, it might come with a pack of gloves, a box of reeds. These are what we call instrument-shaped objects, ISOs, okay? They look like a clarinet, but they are not going to play well. If a piece on them breaks, I cannot fix it. In layman's terms, it's junk, okay? So you really want to watch out for those. And unfortunately, even these days, sometimes people are making instruments and are putting, the brand Yamaha or King or Bundy or Selmer, these quality brand of instruments that you and I have known or through the years, and they putting them on there. So you have to be very careful. Of course, you can go to any music store and they would help you buy your own instrument. But I've seen a lot of instruments on places like Facebook Marketplace or eBay, and those are okay, but please do not buy an instrument off of Amazon, okay? No one will be a happy shopper from that experience, okay? So that's the first one, is getting an instrument on your own. Second is you can rent a brand new instrument, and we work through Daybreak Music. Daybreak Music is in Cortland, Ohio, and it's the dealer that we get our instruments through, as well as they do all of our repairs. So I'm going to pull up their website here. And so you can see right here that this is their rental information. So they have a form on here. For the first 2 months, these are all the instruments that you can rent. These are brand new, okay? Brand new, never been used at this price. The alto saxophone will be more expensive renting and of course buying it. But on here you can see they have a rental brochure that if we had this meeting in person that I would hand to you and give out. But you can check that out and all the information is on there. So it's just a month-by-month payment and you can see all of the information there, no interest, excuse me, payment doesn't increase, all that stuff. So they are a great store. We've done business with them for many years and they have very quality instruments. So if you want a brand new trumpet, if you want a brand new trombone that someday will be yours, the rent to own from Daybreak Music is a great option. And we have many students do that every year. Lastly, let's go back. Lastly, you can rent a school-owned instrument. These instruments are not going to be the shiniest. They're not going to be, the best quality. They're going to have scratches and dents on them, but they're going to play, and they're going to be an instrument for in your hands. So if you could see behind me a little bit there, there's all these shelves full of instruments, and those instruments are just ready for homes, okay? They're ready to be in your hands. Now, keep in mind, I don't have, 40 flutes to give out, and I don't have 30 alto saxophones to give out. I have a very small, fifth and sixth grade together, a very small quantity. But if you want to rent a school-owned instrument and you are in need of a small, and I say it's a very small fee to rent a school-owned instrument, please talk to me, and I would love to get one of these instruments in your hands. So those are the three ways to get an instrument. We can go more in detail into this later. In the fall, I will have sort of a meeting very similar to this, but I will invite Daybreak Music, where they will come and you can right then and there sign up to get your instrument, pay them, and they will take care of that and get that for you, okay? The biggest thing is you need to get an instrument if you want to be in band, and you might want to write this down, September 13th. Okay, September 13th is a Monday. That's the first day that we want to have students having an instrument in their hands. So the first couple of weeks of school are just going to be on making, getting kids in class and getting them, situated in band. And we'll do some instruction the first couple of weeks of school without an instrument at all in band class. But by September 13th is when we want to have their instrument in their hand, okay, and playing. Doesn't mean by September 13th, if you don't have it or it's a day late, you don't get to be part of the program. Not at all. But that is our goal. That's the day that we want to have students have their instruments in their hand and be ready to learn. Other things that you're going to need are all students will need to have their own accent on achievement book. Book 1, this is the book we've used for many years. It's a great method book, and you can actually buy these from me here. And we could talk about that later this fall, but you can buy whatever book you need on your instrument, okay? Some instruments are going to need supplies. For example, clarinets, alto saxophones are going to need reeds, okay? Trumpets, trombones are going to need slide grease or oil for their instrument. All of those kind of supplies you can also buy and purchase right here. I have my own little, I call it my band director store. The students can bring in cash in or check, and we can take care of that right here. So that way you're not always going out and having to buy it. They can just buy it right here. And lastly, you're going to need determination, students, which we're going to get here in just a second. They're going to need to have determination. Because the first few months in band are going to be quite challenging. It's going to be very exciting. It's going to be new. It's going to be different, but it's going to be hard work, okay? You're going to need patience. Parents, you're going to need patience, okay? The sounds that are coming out of the instruments are not going to be pretty. They're not going to sound good really at the beginning at all. So you just need to have patience. Students, you're going to need to have endurance, okay? You're going to need to practice when it doesn't sound good, when it's not fun to do so. And you're going to have to keep putting time and effort into your instrument. And I throw this in there for parents. Your students are going to need kind motivation. Again, it's not going to sound nice. It's not going to sound pretty, but kindly motivate them. Hey, why don't we go practice a little bit, right? But be kind about it. Don't force them out into the garage or into the barn to practice. Be kind to them and encourage them on their instrument. And lastly, the practice. Practice is so key. Students, if you don't practice your instrument, you're just not going to get good at it, okay? Just like you have to take your math homework home, just like you have to read at home, all these things, you're going to have to apply some effort on your own, on your instrument. And I always say practice in small amounts as much as you can. If you only can practice 10 minutes a day, that's awesome, okay? When you're starting off, you're not going to want to, or you're not going to need to practice for an hour a day. That's not necessary. Small increments as often as you can will be the best thing that you can do for your instrument. And performances. This is the exciting part about being in band, being on the stage, playing for our friends and family. So in beginning band, we'll have a performance. Their first concert will be the December Christmas concert, and then we'll have a spring concert at the end of the year. Now, the past several years, we've gone to end of the year trip. This year, the middle school bands are going to Waldameer up in Erie. That's not a given every year to go to Waldameer, but we will go somewhere, do something at the end of the year. That is an optional trip, but it's a lot of fun and students love to go. So we start with Hot Cross Buns, a simple song that students might know from their elementary days playing on the recorders. And we start with these beginning songs, but then there's a long ways to go from there. And that chart that I showed you at the beginning of all the options in high school and then in junior high, and they can keep growing. So let's say you start on the clarinet and you're just not enjoying it. And you've actually put some effort into it and some hard work. We can always switch instruments. Now, if you rent from Daybreak, let's say you're renting a trumpet for some time and it's just not working out, you can apply those same payments that you've made for a trumpet to a trombone or a saxophone or what other instrument that you are switching to. All right. There are options to play different instruments. What I mean is maybe in 6th grade, if you start in 5th grade, or 7th grade if you start in 6th grade this coming year. Let's say you play the bass clarinet, but you might want to try, or excuse me, you play the clarinet, but you might want to try the bass clarinet. Or you play the flute, but you might want to try the piccolo, or the clarinet to the oboe, or the baritone to the tuba. So there's a lot of extra instruments as we get older that you can try. So we want to start on one of those 7 basic ones and then expand as we get older. So a great resource that if you haven't found out is our band website. So on here, I have, let's just go to the home page quickly. So we already saw that be part of the band. Here, that's the informal form to fill out. But then here, be part of the band, 4th and 5th grade information. This is a video I put together last year about each instrument in detail. It'll help you out, gives you quality brands. This is a excellent website with lots and lots of great quality videos of students playing different instruments. So if you're not sure, say, I'm just not sure yet, you can check this out. Daybreak Music, again, is the music store that we use. You could just click on that icon. It'll take them right to them. And I just have a couple of other videos. This is the Army Field Band, again, about beginning band instruments. They do an excellent job. Here is a video that I put together, Say No to ISOs, okay? And I actually take you to the Amazon website. I show you the clarinets and the flutes and all those instruments that I'm talking about, okay? Every year I have a parent do this, and in their fairness, they don't know, you know, we buy stuff from Amazon all the time. We don't understand that the instruments are not good quality. So my part is I want to educate you parents on make sure you purchase a quality instrument for your student, okay? And over here, supplies and resources, this is great in that, let's say, you know, alto saxophone, like I said, you can buy reeds here from school, but I tell you about almost every need that you need for your instrument. And here, actually, you can, and I repeat, you can click this, and it'll take you to Amazon. And this is a good quality reed that you can buy. So you can buy this kind of supplies on Amazon, but instruments themselves, you just can't, okay? I do recommend all of my students, whether your instrument, have a music stand, because when they're practicing at school, of course, they have their music stands and their books up like this. But then when they get home, they might lie them on the table and are practicing their flute like this, hunched over, or their different instruments. So you want to have your books up on a music stand. So lastly, we all have to start somewhere. I have never met a person who has told me, you know, I regret joining the band. Never heard that. I hear countless times, I wish I would have stuck with it. I wish I would have been in band when I was in school. And music is so important, and not just band. Maybe it's orchestra, maybe it's choir, you know, whatever it is, but music is so important for our students. And I can't wait to see as many students as possible in the 5th and 6th grade band. And it's not going to sound pretty the first couple months, all right? It's going to be exciting, it's going to be new, but it's going to be a lot of work. But we got to start there, and then someday we'll be continuing to make great music together. So if you have any questions, the best way to contact me is through my school email. I'm fairly quick at the school email. Within a day or so, I usually will have a response to you. If it's easier, we can set up a time to talk on the phone, or you want to come into the school, we can chat in person. But the best and easiest way is through my school email. Check out the band website. There's a lot of great information on there. Of course, this video will be posted there. And now I'm going to open it up to my friends out there for any questions.